Yes, the walking doll has a little spirit with it. It's feel like it's a little child spirit, a little girl. I think she's under the age of 10. She might be 7 or 8, and if I remember from Cherie's story, she came from Cherie Shun, who's she's a haunted collector, but also a doll collector, and she's got over 600 dolls in her house. And I've been there a few times, and I got to spend the night in the room with the dolls. So it was pretty awesome. And sometimes she'll let me take some of the items if she needs to move some out, and she feels comfortable with that. If that spirit makes her feel like, yes, I'm okay with moving, she'll let me take some or some of her other close friends. And yeah, Fiona, she interested in me not only because she's I love the big vintage dolls like that, and she's what they call a walker doll because it's one of those you can take it by the hand, and as you walk, it's supposed to kind of step with you, but you have to move. This doll, though, she'll get ahead of you. She'll
She's ready.
Yeah. And yeah, I got a video of that out there on the YouTube that I shared with you and everybody on our group chat.
It makes your eyes open big.
Yeah, her legs move like natural. It's not that stiff look like those dolls usually have. And it's amazing. But she's actually a little bit of a celebrity. Cherie bought her from the lady who was featured on an episode of Dead Files, the Amy Allen show, where Amy and her
Steve DeShavi.
Yes. He's a former FBI agent and
NYPD. He was a homicide detective.
That's right. I'm sorry. Yeah, homicide.
That's okay. I don't mind. He's a friend of mine, so that part I've got.
Yeah, he's a great guy. And I like that he does it with her because he'll do the historical research and the interviews, and she does the investigation, and they don't talk until the end. And it's creepy how many things she gets right.
I know, right? She's brilliant.
But this lady, she had a house full of dolls. I can't remember her name, but it's the episode with the lady that has the house full of dolls. And Amy went in and felt all that energy, and she was worried that Amy was worried that the spirits were kind of trapped there. I don't feel like they are. I think they're just there because they want to be. It's either an item they own or they just love it and want to stick around it. Right. Sort of like haunting a house. Sometimes they can haunt an item. And the lady took Amy's advice and started parting ways with a lot of the dolls to kind of help, if anything, at least to reduce the energy and paranormal activity. So Cherie got in touch with her and said, I'm interested. I'd love to have some. And she bought a bunch of them. And Fiona was one of them. And you can actually see her on the show in one of the rooms they're in. She's in the background there standing up. But she looks like a hot mess. She was, her hair was everywhere. Cherie got her and, cleaned her up and gave her a beauty makeover. Fixed her hair and gave her a new dress. So she's sparkling now. But so it's kind of neat. I got a celebrity doll there that was on TV. They didn't talk about her or focus on her at all. There was so many dolls, but you can see her there in the show. So, but she is a classic walker. I want to say, what was that, 50s or 60s when they put those out? So she's vintage, close to antique now, I guess. But she still works. She's in great shape. She was just very filthy and needed to be cleaned up. And Cherie took care of all that and kept her for a long time, and then decided that Fiona was ready to move on. So I felt strongly led to her when I was looking at the picture. She has those eyes that are just blazing blue in her pictures. Just you can tell there's something there. And she won my heart over. I think I felt close to her when I visited there a few times before I adopted her. And she's been a very quiet and sweet spirit, but yeah, she loves me to take her out and walk a little bit with her. But I don't take her outside. That'd freak out the neighbors.
Walking your doll around the block.
But we walk around the house a little bit, and it freaked my sister out too, but it hasn't kept her from visiting me. So, but I just can't take her out when my sister's here. I did it once for her, and she kind of got creeped out, but my nephew loved it. He thought it was awesome. So she's quite the showgirl.
Well, she's beautiful too. Cherie did a good job.
Oh yeah, Cherie's a doll doctor too. I've had some of my dolls fixed by her, and she's just wonderful. And she's very good about casting out negative spirits. So if I have a problem I can't deal with, I just call on her, and she's a tough cookie. She can cast those suckers out, and they don't come back. She's a
Well,
great Christian.
well, she is. I follow her and watch a lot of the work that she does now, and I enjoy that.
Yeah, she's wonderful.
Now, I want to talk about, and I mean, I know I always tell you I want to talk about these dolls, but they fascinate me. And these are the dolls, when you got the first one, I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And then you got another one. And I'm talking about Kevin has two dolls from the Island of the Dolls. And they're fascinating to me. Can you
Yes.
share?
Oh yeah, definitely. One of them, the first one I got, is on the cover of that book, My Haunted Collection. He's got
Mm-hmm.
the blazing yellow eyes. His name is, I call him Baby Harold, so he doesn't get confused with the bad Harold that was on Ghost Adventures. Some people have contacted me and they think that that's the Harold on Ghost Adventures. I'm like, nope, I don't have that one. But he's a good little boy. He's a little baby, little toddler. His mother owned that doll, and they both died in a house fire. And that doll made it through the fire. It didn't get burned, but even now, I can sometimes smell smoke on it. It's really weird. And it's wearing one of the baby gowns that Baby Harold actually wore. I think it was back in the 50s, maybe earlier. This is one of those old Compo dolls. And and I think they've got newspaper or something for stuffing. It's really old. And it's kind of cracked. And my friend Myra got it. Now, it wound up on the Island of the Dolls because the family who owned it, the parents of the lady and her baby who died, they took the doll because it made it through the fire and their daughter owned it and they wanted to keep it, but they kept hearing a baby crying around the doll. And they just knew that was Baby Harold. And even though that was their grandbaby, it really disturbed them. They wanted to make sure he was at rest. So they heard about that Island of the Dolls in Mexico. Don Julian was the caretaker. He had his own ghost story there. There was a little girl who drowned off the beach there, and he didn't save her in time, and he started seeing her ghost. And to appease her, he started bringing dolls to the island, and that started a fad. People would just come and leave dolls, and there's a lot hanging from the trees or some of the shack he used to sleep in. And I understand he passed away, and either he's really ill or he passed away. That was a long time ago when he started that. And his nephew takes care of the island now. And his nephew is the one, for whatever reason, decided to take several of the dolls off the island to make room. And he took them home, and his wife went in panic mode. She was screaming in Spanish
Oh, my
at him.
word.
I mean, she would not allow them in the house. He had to keep them in the garage. And my friend Myra, who's also a doll doctor and haunted collector like Cherie, she knows him, and she said, I would love to have, Island of the Dolls. I'd love to have that. So she took them, and she fixed them up really. I mean, Harold, she sends me before pictures and after pictures. He was filthy. He was actually in the shack where Don Julian slept. And she cleaned him up. He looks a lot better now. And after a while, she let me adopt him because I thought that was the coolest thing ever, an actual dog.
I think it is too.
Yeah, and I was like, as long as it doesn't have a negative spirit with it or an angry spirit. And she said, no, he's very peaceful. He doesn't really cry as much anymore. And I've heard him cry one time, and I caught it on video out there on my YouTube. I heard a little child cry in my bedroom. But when I walked in there, the crying stopped. So I hope maybe my presence maybe calmed him down. I'm sort of like the daddy to these spirits. And my cat ran in there too. Like she wanted to save the day. She took off in there.
Oh, Maddie's so sweet.
Yeah. And the crying stopped, and she came back out and hopped up on the kitchen table. It's all on my video there. But you could hear, I heard the crying, and I thought it was coming from my TV. And then I muted it, and I could still hear the crying. And I picked up my video, my phone real quick, started the video, and I captured it one more time before it stopped. And it's very faint, like But that's the only time I've heard him cry. I knew it was him because his doll is right there next to the bedroom door inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And he might have got upset about something, maybe one of the other spirits, but he calmed down and he's very quiet. But I mean, when you hold him, sometimes when I hold him up near my shoulder, his little head just kind of lolls over and comes to rest on my shoulder.
Aw.
And he does that if I sit him on the sofa next to him, his little head just kind of lolls over next to me. And I try to keep his gown clean, and it's very fragile, so I don't want to, just I try to wash it carefully so it doesn't tear or anything. And he's got his little baby bonnet on that he used to wear. So it's amazing not only to have the doll, but to have the actual clothes that the real baby Harold wore with that doll. But I had him, and then Myra got in touch with me about the other doll, this girl doll. And this one actually was hanging from one of the trees. It still got a piece of the rope on it where it hung from the tree. And the picture of her, she was filthy. She had no clothes, and she was just dirty. And Myra cleaned her up really good and bought her a new dress and bonnet. And it's like day and night when you look at the before picture and after. But this one, she's got several spirits. There's one little girl spirit that's prominent. But the rest of them, I think, are adult spirits. And they kind of stay in the background. I don't ever hear from them. But the little girl, she's very precious. And I took her on one of the tours. Sometimes they ask me to bring a haunted doll with me on the haunted Birmingham tours I do. And people just love it. They take pictures of it, and other people get freaked out. But I felt she wanted to come, so I took her, and she was very well behaved. She didn't move around the bus or anything.
A definite plus when you have people that you don't know.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably one of the few dolls that you have, if not the only, that has multiple spirits, right?
Yeah, that's one of two. I've got one. Now, Esmeralda, I meant to say, is the name of the little girl with that doll. There's another one, Kimmy, that's got two spirits. One is Kimmy, the little girl who died from an illness, and the other is a young adult woman who drowned. And I don't know if they knew each other. I haven't gotten that yet, but it's one of those Chatty Cathy dolls that you put the batteries in and press the button. It's from the 60s. And it was spooky when I put the batteries in and turned it on and pressed the button. It started to talk like a child, and then the voice went deeper. It does nursery rhymes, so it did Jack and Jill when I turned it on.
Right.
And it was Jack and Jill went up the hill to fetch a pail of water, and it just got deep, and it really spooked me.
I bet. That would be unexpected.
That was letting me know, hey, there's two of us here. One's a kid, one's not a kid. I kind of got the willies and I cut it off, and it hasn't played since when I've tried to turn it back on.
Aww.
So, but it was really weird.
That is really weird. Well, we are down to a minute and a half. I can't believe this has gone quite so quickly.
Wow.
Right? So, we're going to have to do another show because there are so many other experiences that you have right there in your home. But for right now, tell people how to find you because they're going to want to check out this YouTube. So, as well as your books. And we've got you up on the Amazon website. So, go ahead. Yeah,
there's the Amazon. If you want to order straight from me and get autographed, I have my website. It's easy. It's writerkevincain.com. Writer is WRITER. Writerkevincain.com. I've got a store out there, and I autograph them, and I try to sell them a little bit less than what's on Amazon. And you can get them there autographed. You can get them on Amazon or Barnes & Noble, Books A Million. There's my haunted collection, and there's some novels about a couple of the dolls, Patty Doll and Tammy Baby. And you've got I've got a book about a fictional paranormal team, Haunts, and the sequel is Into the Vortex, which just came out this summer. So you can check those out. Those are good books. And
they're also all good books.
Thank you. And my YouTube. You just go on YouTube and put in My Haunted Dolls, and you'll